Here is a guide to a Crown's healing build in Wizard101 for levels 100 through 170. This video is structured a little differently than my free-to-play one. First, I'll give a brief explanation of how I chose the different Crowns items I discuss in the video, so you can decide if my recommendations fit your playstyle. Then I'll go over the hat, robe, boots, and wand for the different level tiers, and then I'll talk about your amulet, deck, and other accessories. I split it this way because you don't get amulets and decks from bundles, and I want to clearly separate your core gear items from your accessories. I also want to note here at the beginning that I really don't think you need to spend money on an athame or ring for a healing build. I go over your different options in my Crowns free healing build video, and I recommend using those because I think they're much better than pack ones. If you want more information on athames and rings, go check out that video because I won't be going over them now. With that said, here are the timestamps for this video's different sections, so if you're looking for something specific, you can jump to it. So you have several different choices on how to spend your money. You could buy a bundle that comes with gear, buy gauntlets that drop the gear you want, or buy packs. Your options also vary throughout the year. Some packs are seasonal, and some retired bundles only come back to the online cart for a week or so. Depending on when you watch this video, some items may not be available to you, and with that in mind, I tried as much as possible to pick things that are available year-round. Because there are more pay-to-win gear templates available than free-to-play ones, you have many ways you can customize your build. In this video, I prioritize 3 stats: Universal Resist, Outgoing Healing, and Power Pip Chance. All of the gear I discuss will be recommended the most or least based on creating a strong balance of those stats. Therefore, this video doesn't focus on building a high critical healing build, although I know some people do prefer that. Now let's talk about the gear. Starting with level 100, we'll first talk about bundles. 3 bundles that are available right now that have healing gear are the Crocotopia River Palace bundle, the Spooky Carnival bundle, and the Country Cottage bundle. I recommend waiting to buy any of these until you're at a higher level. Even though they are all available at level 100, you will outgrow the gear and then wish you had waited until you could get the best stats possible. I'll talk about all of them in turn at the level tiers I recommend. A great bundle that stops at level 100 is the Atlantean Bundle. This is a well-rounded set, and all 4 pieces of gear have high outgoing healing. In total, you get 26% Universal Resist, 65% outgoing healing, 26% Power Pip Chance, and some Universal Accuracy. The only critical rating comes from the wand. I personally think that this is the best bundle for level 100 because you won't feel like you wasted your money by buying it now and not later. It also has the best wand at level 100 compared to others. Unfortunately, the Atlantean Bundle is retired and is only available when it returns to Wizard101's online cart. This timing may not work out for you, which is a shame because it's a great set. Now let's move on to gear from gauntlets. As you might know, you can get gear from inside a gauntlet either as a drop from the bosses or by crafting it with the special reagents the bosses drop. Each of the newer gauntlets also have a corresponding pack in the Crown shop with the gear. I'll talk about packs in the next section, but for right now, I want to emphasize that gear from the newer gauntlets will not have pins until level 110. Thus, I do not recommend you get level 100 gear from a gauntlet that will give you pins on the level 110 version of the gear. Shield pins that are called mending pins are how you get outgoing healing nowadays, so don't buy or farm for anything that doesn't have a socket for a shield pin. I promise that it's worth the wait. So what gauntlet does have good level 100 healing gear? Well, I recommend the Battle of the Bands. This is a one-shot gauntlet available in the Crown shop for 500 crowns each. It has gear going up to level 100 and has 3 pieces with high outgoing healing. They're called the Rocker set. In total, you get 48% outgoing healing, 18% Power Pip Chance, and some critical and critical block. The 24% outgoing on the boots is particularly nice, as it's actually a higher amount than the level 100 Life Mending pin, which is 19% outgoing. Unfortunately, this gear does not have any resist, so you want to mix and match these pieces with others that do. I recommend using some Jade pieces. The Jade set is the most famous high resist gear in the game and comes from the Keeper Spelemental pack. It goes up to level 110, and so I recommend waiting until then. Looking at the 110 version, Jade gear has an impressive 62% resist. However, that comes at a trade-off with other stats. It has 15% Power Pip Chance, 17% outgoing healing, but no accuracy or critical. It's kind of like the inverse of the Rocker set, where you swap resist for outgoing healing, and so that's why I recommend using a combination of both to create balance. You definitely want to keep the rocker shoes, but it's up to you whether you'd prefer to use 2 Jade pieces for more resist, or only 1 piece in exchange for more outgoing healing. Your power pip chance is going to be basically the same. Here you can see I opted for the Jade hat and robe because there is a great wand from the same pack to boost my outgoing healing. This wand is called the Silver Order of the Spiral and again goes up to level 110. It is very similar to the Sword of Kings with 24% outgoing and some critical block. I want to mention that this gear is all school, meaning that you can use this set on a balance wizard, a death wizard, or really any other school. A blessing of Crown's gear is that a lot of it is not locked behind life school only, which gives you a lot more freedom. With these 4 pieces, you can have 45% resist, 58% outgoing healing, and 16% power pip chance. That's before any accessories or a pet, which is a great base to work with. So while you're at level 100, I recommend farming the Battle of the Bands and waiting till 110 to get the Jade gear. Regarding drop rates, I found that Bands usually drops at least 1 piece of gear per run. The Keeper's Spellmental pack is not so generous. I don't know if it was just me, but it took a lot of packs to finally collect the entire Jade set, plus the wand. I honestly don't know how many I opened until I finally got the boots. The wand seemed to drop the most for me, but that was just my personal experience and it might be different for you. I still think Jade gear is very much worth it, especially if the Atlantean Bundle isn't available. I'll talk about some other packs next, but again, because the Jade gear is all school, you have the advantage of being able to use it no matter what. It's unlike other packs that drop school only gear, when there's no guarantee that a piece of gear you get will be usable. Now let's look at those other packs, specifically at level 110 so they have pins. For your hat and boots, I think your best options are the Forbidden Library and the Leeches and Legends pack. They use the exact same gear template, so the stats you get will be the same and only the item cards will be different. It's also just up to your preference for cosmetics. Looking at the hat, you will get 8% resist, 6% power pip chance, and a shield pin. The level 100 life shield pin will give you 19 outgoing healing, like I said before. These stats are well-rounded and are comparable to the Atlantean helm with more health. Looking at the boots, you get 11% resist, 6% power pip chance, and another shield pin. So together, the hat and boots will give you 19% resist, 12% power pip chance, and 38% outgoing healing, along with some life accuracy, critical, and critical block. Not bad considering that you can get both the hat and the boots from the same pack. Note that robes with pins will not have a shield pin, they get a power pin instead. For the purposes of this video, I won't include robes that don't have outgoing healing. There are a few robes from different packs that will give you outgoing healing and resist, starting at level 110. Let's first look at the Thrilling Skyfarer's robe and Malistaire's Spirited Vestment. The Skyfarer robe comes from the Skyfarer's Horde pack, and Malistaire's Vestment comes from the Spiral Villains Horde pack. These 2 robes are identical, except for the secondary school. Skyfarer has fire, whereas Malistaire has ice. Neither of those apply to healing, however. The stats we do care about are the 10% resist, 9% power pip chance, and 12% outgoing healing. The other robe is the Floramancer Robe of Life from the Freaky Floramancer pack. It has 12% resist, 11% power pip chance, and 12% outgoing healing, with about 100 more health points than the other 2 robes. It does not have any critical rating. Unfortunately, the Freaky Floramancer pack is only available during the Halloween event, which runs during October and April. Another popular pack is the Fanciful Fairy Key Horde pack. However, the hat, robe, and boots do not have any power pip chance. Instead, you get shadow rating, but I personally think that trade-off is not worth it. I want as close to perfect power pip chance as possible, and it's a rare occasion when healers use a shadow pip, especially at earlier levels. The only thing worth getting in this pack for healers is the Amulet, which I'll talk about later. Moving on to levels 120 through 40. In this tier, it's perfectly fine to keep the gear that you have. If you choose to buy gear from packs, there are minor improvements in the stats as you level up, but you definitely don't need to repurchase any gear. Jade is also still a great option. I will mention the 2 previously best in slot items in this range. The robe is, of course, the Spooky Carnival suit, which comes from the Spooky Carnival bundle that I mentioned earlier. For the past several years, the Spooky robe has been the universal recommendation for a healing or Jade robe. It has the ideal combination of high resist and high outgoing healing, and it goes up to level 130. It's probably the most recommended item for a healing build, and for good reason. You get 21% resist, 20% outgoing healing, 7% power pip chance, and some universal accuracy. However, the only item that healers use from this bundle is the robe, because neither the hat nor the boots have any resist. You're basically buying the bundle just for the robe, although it does come with a 4-person 50% speed mount, which is nice. But now there's a replacement for Spooky from the Krokotopia River Palace bundle. River Palace goes all the way up to level 170, and even better, all of the gear has resist and outgoing healing. Here's a comparison of the level 130 Spooky robe with the level 170 River Palace robe, which is called the Falconine Armor of Horus. The main difference between them is a 5% increase in outgoing healing and the 2% extra in power pip chance. That is actually very helpful, and I will show why in the max gear set showcase at the end of this video. Seeing that there is an upgrade for Spooky, I think it's better to pass and save your money for the Krok River Palace bundle. 40 levels really isn't that long, and there are free-to-play options at levels 140 and 50 that will work fine. You can watch my Crowns free gear video for those details. But if you really want the 4-person mount, or just like the look or stats of the Spooky gear better, you can certainly do that. The other previously best in slot item is the Emerald Caiman Scepter. This wand comes from the Spellamental Skyfarer pack, which goes up to level 130. The Emerald Caiman Scepter has 20% outgoing healing. Although this is lower than the Silver Order of the Spiral, it gives you some critical rating as well as critical block. Which one you prefer is really up to your playstyle at this level. What makes Emerald Caiman special is the square socket, because later at level 170, you can socket an 8% outgoing square jewel, boosting you to 28%. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any accuracy, which is why it's been replaced with the Wish Upon wand from the Country Cottage bundle. I'll talk about that more in the level 170 section. Moving on to levels 150 through 60. For your hat and boots, I recommend getting them from the Novice Explorers pack. This pack has the same gear template as the Eternal set. Eternal is the defensive version of Aeon gear, which drops from the final bosses in Novice. Although Eternal is only level 160 and up, the Novice Explorers pack is available at level 150 and also has pins. There's only minor differences between the 150 and 60 versions, but 160 is the max. It's up to you whether you want the exact same stats as Eternal, or if you want to get a slightly downgraded version at level 150. I will note that the Eternal hat and boots are still best in slot at level 170, so there's no need to replace them. At level 160, the Great Inventor's Life hat gives you 13% resist, 10% power pip chance, and a shield pin. You can socket a 29% outgoing life mending pin, which is also available at 160. The Great Inventor's Life boots give you 15% resist, 7% power pip chance, and another shield pin. From your 2 shield pins alone, you can get 58% outgoing healing. These are strong, balanced stats that pair best with a robe that also has outgoing healing, such as Spooky or the free-to-play Malevolent Life Cloak. Remember that a robe with pins will not have a shield pin, so that's why I'm not mentioning the Great Inventor's Life Cloak. I don't recommend changing your wand at this level tier, because you're going to want to wait until level 170. And now we're finally there. I mentioned the Krokotopia River Palace bundle before, and I'm going to talk about it in more detail now. The gear is called the Falconine set and is very well rounded. Here you can see the stats for the hat, robe, and boots. The wand does not have built-in outgoing healing unfortunately, so I didn't include it. In total, you get 52% resist, 60% outgoing healing, 22% power pip chance, 16% universal accuracy, and over 300 critical. Here are the Great Inventor's hat and boots side by side with the Falconine ones. The main difference is that the shield pins give you 23% more outgoing healing, as the Falconine set does not have pins. The advantage of the pins is that you will be able to keep up with the higher stats available in the future, because you can upgrade to better pins as they become available. Hopefully with the release of Darkmoor, we'll get a level 180 shield pin with even higher outgoing. Like I mentioned in the level 130 section, the Falconine robe is a direct replacement for the Spooky Carnival suit. If the only thing you wanted from this bundle was the robe, I personally still think it's worth it. I doubt that there will be a significant upgrade anytime soon, since KI doesn't really release a whole lot of healing gear to begin with. In general, I think that the hat, robe, and boots from this bundle are all worth using at level 170. It's the best option if you only want to buy one thing for your healing build. You could use the Sword of Kings as your wand and already have 85% outgoing healing before you add any accessories, jewels, or a pet. That is a very solid baseline to work with, and all together with your accessories and jewels, you could get above 150% outgoing healing. It isn't the most perfect min-max healing build, but it saves you a lot of time, money, and energy. Plus, you also get an entire house, a really cool looking weapon, a permanent mount, a pet, and 5,000 crowns. I personally use the bow wand on my healing stitch because I think it looks great with the Jade robe. The other level 170 bundle I recommend is the Country Cottage bundle. It includes a critical healing set that also doubles as energy gear. In total, you get 78 energy, 72% outgoing healing, 20% power pip chance, and almost 400 critical. However, the gear unfortunately doesn't have any resist. The best item is the wand, which is the upgrade to the Emerald Caiman Scepter. It has the same amount of outgoing and also has some universal accuracy. If you were to socket the 8% outgoing square jewel, you would get a total of 28% outgoing and 6% universal accuracy. There is a wand with very similar stats from the Mad Animancer's bundle. The outgoing healing amount is the same, and you swap one power pip for 2 single pips. Both wands can be considered best in slot, but I can't recommend the Mad Animancer bundle specifically for healing because none of the gear has resist. The Country Cottage is great if you want an energy set and the best healing wand available right now. The house is also beautiful, and you get a permanent mount, a pet, and 5,000 crowns. Like Krakatopia River Palace, I think you get a lot of value from this bundle, and the gear is unique. I really like the animation of the spores floating around the dandelion wand. Moving on to your accessories. Let's talk about amulets first. You can get them from packs or as drops from the associated gauntlet. What makes Crown's amulets particularly nice is the high resist they come with. However, amulet stats don't significantly change as you level up, so I think you'll be fine if you choose to get an amulet at level 110, for example, and use it until you decide you want the extra % or 2 to fully maximize your healing build. There are several good contenders, and we'll start with the Vibrant Archival Ample. It comes from the Forbidden Library pack, and here's the level 170 version. It gives 10% resist and has a square and a triangle socket. I believe 10% is the current highest resist you can get as a life wizard on an amulet. You also get 2 item cards, which are Brace and Spirit Blade. This is a well-rounded amulet that you can use to boost your resist, accuracy, and outgoing healing. I know some people also run this amulet on their damage set. At level 100, you get 8% resist, so not too much of a downgrade. Another option is the Lively Nightmare amulet from the Nightmare pack. It only goes up to level 160, but it has 10 resists and a Brace item card. You also get 2 square sockets, which might be the most useful to you once you get to level 170, and you can fill them with either the health or the outgoing jewels. Having 10% resist and 16% outgoing healing from just your amulet is an excellent option. Like before, at level 100, you get 8% resist instead. You could also get the Lovely Fairy Key amulet. It has the advantage of both a circle and a triangle socket. Until you get to level 170, all outgoing healing jewels are circle-shaped, which means that this amulet is the overall best option for maximizing your outgoing healing at any level. Here you can see I have the level 110 version with a 5% outgoing circle. It also has great resist, going up to 9% at level 170, as well as the Star Blade item card. Like the Vibrant Archival Ample, this would be a great amulet for both a healing and a damage set. For Crown's decks, I recommend getting one at level 110 and up. The level 100 versions have no stats, so there's no point. The main advantage to a Crown's deck is that you get Arch Mastery rating earlier. You won't get Arch Mastery rating on free-to-play decks until level 150 with the Merciless Life deck, and there are no decks in the Bazaar that have Arch Mastery right now. There really isn't a difference in stats between the decks in different packs. My suggestion is to pick one with a triangle socket for accuracy or power pip chance, such as the animated Jester cards, for example. I used to recommend the Vivid Imperial Court deck for its Dark Surge item card, but now that spell is changing from giving 2 regular power pips to 1 school pip and 1 weaving pip in exchange for 5% of your health. I'm not really sure how this spell change is going to play out, so I wouldn't buy it until we can see whether it's a good or bad change. In the meantime, if you do want a deck with a circle socket, you could go for the Lovely Fairy Key deck. I would say a deck is the least important Crown's item to buy for your gear. There are many great free-to-play options, and I talk more in depth about decks and jewels in my Crown's free healing gear video. Finally, there are a couple more things you can buy to take your gear to its maximum stats. First is the Mammoth Mini Mount, which can be used at any level. This mount will give you an extra 2% outgoing healing and is the only mount like it. It's by no means required, but if you are invested in maximizing your outgoing healing, many healers have it. There's also the Lifesaver Jade Jewel, better known as the Maycast Pigsy Jewel. This is a special pet jewel that gives your pet both the healer talent and the happy accident ability. That is the chance that your pet may cast Pigsy during combat. This is great to have on a Maycast heals pet and is currently the only way you can get the happy accident ability. It also frees up a talent spot because it automatically provides the healer talent, so you could use that free spot for Spellproof, Medic, another Maycast ability, or anything else you like. You get this jewel from the Wizard101 Kroger gift card. Kroger is a grocery store in the United States, and so the gift card is not available to international players. If you don't live near a Kroger, you can purchase it from Kroger's website. The card costs $20 and comes with 10,000 crowns and a jewel. Which jewel you receive changes depending on which month you redeem the gift card during. You can get the Lifesaver Jade during March and September. Now, if you want to see a maximum healing build all put together, I will show you my current set with the best in slot gear. I'm running the Eternal Hat, which remember is the same as the Great Inventor's Life Hat, the Krokotopia River Palace Robe, the Great Inventor's Life Boots, the Wish Upon Wand, the Vibrant Archival Ample, and the Mammoth Mini Mount. I'm not actually using a Crowns deck. I have the Kanzu one from Salinopolis, but like I said before, the difference in stats is so minimal it doesn't matter. The important part is that it does have Arch Mastery rating and a square 8% outgoing jewel. My pet has double outgoing, double resist, and mighty. The stats are kind of unbelievable. I have 12,000 health with 76% resist. I have 39 life accuracy, and I also boosted my death and balance accuracy. Critical is at 368, which is nice. My outgoing healing is 220%, and I have perfect power pip chance. I mentioned before that the Krokotopia River Palace Robe has 2% higher power pip chance than Spooky, and this is actually very helpful because this set will reach perfect power pip chance without an extra jewel. So I can use my triangle socket on my theme for a life accuracy jewel or another accuracy jewel you prefer. If you really wanted to stretch your outgoing healing, you could go for the Lively Nightmare Amulet or the free-to-play jewel of the Virtuous Soul. If you use Virtuous Soul, you would be at 230% outgoing healing. That's what I wear when I help people with the Abyss Boss and Novice. The current damage cap is 238%, I believe, meaning that this healing set is the equivalent of a maximum damage build. So yeah, you can get pretty amazing healing stats with this combination. However, it's undoubtedly expensive. If you buy the Croc River Palace Bundle, the Country Cottage Bundle, and the Mammoth Mini Mount, you will spend $100. The bundles are $40 each, the mount is $20, and if you choose to open packs to get an amulet, you will likely spend more. I'm not going to beat around the bush that it is a lot of money to invest, but it was worth it to me, and it might be to you too. I will say that I've gotten a lot of compliments on my gear, and you will definitely stand out from the crowd. If you enjoy playing healer regularly, it is a very rewarding experience. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. In the description down below, I will add bullet points of all of the gear I mentioned for quick reference. Happy healing!